and it was organized in 1964, and it was attended by 119 countries. It is established as a permanent United Nations organization in the world. I hope students you understand what does it mean. Just have a look here on the screen that I want to show some pictures to you so that it can be able to understand easily as things slowly. Yeah, this picture I want to show you. So what is the UNCTAD United Nations uh, Conference on Trade and Development? It's international business. So just have a look on that. Now, what did you understand by this? See, the conference felt that the developed countries were being benefited by the trade arrangements, whereas the developing countries were getting losses due to them. So, the developing countries use these conferences to press the developed countries for trade concessions from them and for other changes which would aid in the development of developing economies. Mostly, primary products are exported by the developing countries, and trade of these goods is subjected to price establish- stability as there is a change in the market condition. It was also observed that the terms of trade in these countries were declining for the primary products relative to manufactured products. So, they demanded that buffer stocks must be set up for primary products to stabilize world price at a fair level. That was the main concept of UNTAG. Now, the main goal. What is the main goal of UNTAG? Is it's nothing but to expand the capabilities of developing countries in the sphere of trade. Next one, investment and development. Third one, to assist them in overcoming the difficulties arising as a result of globalization. And the last one is to integrate on an equal footing into the world economy. That was the main concern of this block or this organization. Next one, principles of UNCTAD. See, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that means UNCTAD, is a United Nations body responsible for dealing with development issues, particularly international trade. It means the main principle of this block is nothing but to develop the international trade and dealing with the development issues. That's the main intention. Apart from that, their demand driven will be there, embracing country ownership will be there, and based on principle of transparency, efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability, if the trade, international trade will share or it will begin. Geographically balanced implementation will be there as well. So the developing countries has to press to establish commodity agreements covering their major exports of raw materials and agricultural goods. GATT had no doubt led to multilateral trade negotiations and made large growth in international trade. But because of its principle of non-discrimination and reciprocity, it did not suit the interest of developing nations. So a weak bargaining position of developing countries was highlighted by many economists. Rolf Prebisch explained the shortcomings of GATT and I mean, finally, after various meetings, the Economic and Social Council and the General Assembly decided to convene the first United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in 1964. After setting up the UNCTAD, development countries had got a platform from where they can press the developed economics to grant them relief in matters of trade and development finance. And just have a look on the screen. come back to our class. That is nothing but uh, international business. Now we will go with the next term, that is nothing but as you were saying, that how the main functions. Now, what are the main function of this block? That is nothing but United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Uh, there are two main functions for this block. The first one is to promote international trade between developed and developing countries with a view to accelerate economic development. So the thing is here to develop the international trade between the developed countries as well as the developing countries. So these two countries can come together with the acceleration for the economic development. Next, second function is to formulate principles and policies on international trade and related problems of economic development. So whatever the agreement is taking place between the developed countries and developing and developed countries, here the one more function is they will organize or they will formulate the principles, rules and regulations, policies on international trade and problems related to the economic development. This is the main functions of the this block, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development of International Business. Now, objectives. See, the primary objectives of United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is to facilitate policies relating to all aspects of development, including trade, aid, transport, finance, and technology. Next, optimizing the trade, investment, development opportunities of developing countries. Next, assist developing countries in their efforts to integrate into the world economy on an equitable basis. Next one is basic principle. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development action program and priorities had been laid down in the various recommendations adopted by the first conference in 1964. So these recommendations are based on the following principles, like every country has the sovereignty right freely to dispose of its natural resources. Next one, economic relations between both the countries, that means developed countries as well as developing countries. Last one, there shall be no discrimination on the basis of differences in socio-economic systems. So these are the concerns and the objectives. Apart from that, some more objectives are there. Main objective of United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is to reduce and eventually eliminate the trade gap between the developed and developing countries. So what does it mean to reduce? Extremely reducing the eliminate line or the gap, trade gap between the developed countries as well as developing countries, then to accelerate the rate of economic growth of the developing world. So the concept is so clear and easy, the people can able to understand. Now, if you see here, what is the objectives of United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is it will strengthen and update professional capacities on trade at the universities. Like that means the process is that they will teach trade to graduate and postgraduate students, and they will develop a policy-oriented research. So as a result, the output, the policymakers and trade practitioners equipped to analyze and take decisions, and they will take the field research into the policy making, and it will better form as a policy decision. So this is the format. Now, what are the functions? See, what are the functions of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is to promote international trade with the view of accelerating economic development. So there should be accelerating economic development between the developed countries as well as developing countries should be there. This is the main first function. Then second one, to formulate principles and policies of the international trade and related problems of economic development. So then the third one is to negotiate multinational trade agreements, and the last one is to make proposals for putting its principles and policies into effect. All these things are coming in the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. See, the 10th session of this blog is to provide a unique opportunity to reflect on recent experience on globalization and to examine the strengths and weaknesses in the past approaches and policies, and to identify the major challenges such as the effective integration of all countries in the international trading system, improving supply capabilities, strengthening the commitment for social development, overcoming the debt problem, generating the adequate financial tools for development, undertaking institutional reforms, reducing financial volatility, focusing on central problems and acute poverty, and growing inequality within and among nations. Apart from that, the this block also supports the knowledge-based development as a necessary element for effective participations of developed countries and developing countries in the world economy. And the last one is nothing but ensuring the justice, political, and economic participation of women also. So, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is a plenary body of a large number of countries, meets normally at 4 years of interval. The 10th session of this bloc was held in Bangkok, Thailand in 2000, deliberated on the developed strategies in an increasingly interdependent world and on how to make globalization an effective instrument for development. So these are the things were there in this topic. By this, we have just completed our second unit, and I hope students will understand the concept. Please make sure to mention your names in the comment box for your attendance and your roll numbers. Please mention your roll numbers for attendance. Thank you. Have a nice day.